what is up guys, Jinxin here. And today I'll be showing you guys my new personal paladin build, which is also my very first build that I made, ever since I first played the game. So for attributes, I prioritize wisdom since I wanted to have as much cooldown reduction as possible. And most of the skills are spammable as well, so you will be using a lot of mana. And then after wisdom, I max out perception, since half of my kit are self-buff skills, so having perception would help a lot to extend the buff time, on top of having some extra hit chance, right? And for the final attribute, I went for strength since normally strength is the best stat for Greatsword, so people would try to max that out first. And one of the reasons why strength is so good for Greatsword is that it has this passive called Vital Force, which boosts your skill damage and hit chance depending on how much HP you have. And for gear, I try to get as much wisdom or perception as well as cooldown reduction, so that I would have more uptime on DPS alongside self-buffs. I personally hate this broadsword of resistance since it doesn't give me any wisdom, so I'm still attempting to do the Butcher's Canyon dungeon for the Duke Warblade, since it has a massive 5.7% cooldown reduction. I'm also still holding on to this Divine Wand as it has 5 wisdom, which is what I really like about it. But ideally, I want to get L'Aquirus Tome from the Cave of Destruction dungeon, as it gives me exactly what stats I need. And not only that, but the dungeon also gives you the Supreme Cape, which is like literally the perfect cape that I need for this build in particular. And for the weapon mastery, I suggest using the Greatsword with the face-off tree if you don't have level 10 mastery yet. I think it provides pretty good stats like 30 skill damage boost as well as 5% attack speed. And once you get to level 10 mastery, I definitely recommend going for Wand as main weapon, since the damage tree would actually give you a lot of damage, as the name states, alongside 8% cooldown reduction, as well as 2 wisdoms. Now for skill rotation stuff, I have 2 skill presets. One is for single target damage, which you can use for dungeons, or when you're solo mobbing. And the other is more focused on AoE, which you can use at spots like Ant Nest, where you can pull a lot of mobs at once. So before doing any combos, you just need to keep in mind of what buffs you had before. For me, I always use the long cooldown buff skills whenever they're up, since most of them last from 9 seconds to 18, which is plenty time for your DPS skills to go off cooldown. Another side buff is from your Precision Dash, which gives a pretty big amount of heavy attack chance for 5 seconds, and you can reuse the skill in 3 seconds, so you can even extend it for roughly 7 to 8 seconds. So your main burst damage comes from a 3 skill combo, which are Willpower into Stunning Blow, and then Guillotine Blade. Willpower will reduce defense by a huge amount for 6 seconds. And then you stun the mob with Stunning Blow so that your final damage skill will take the Cold Warrior passive into account, which also increases heavy attack and critical hit chances. And while they are on cooldown, you can move on to the next rotation, which are Precision Dash, Curse Explosion, and then Precision Dash again into Valiant Brawl and Death Blow for the finisher. But before doing this combo, you have to absolutely make sure that the enemy has 2 stacks of Despair, so that you can do a huge burst of damage from Curse Explosion. So just make sure that you spam Curse of Despair, as well as Ray of Disaster whenever they're up, since they are pretty good chip damage while you're doing your main damage rotations. And as for the AoE setup, you can just use Ice Tornado whenever the other skills are on cooldown, so you have pretty much 100% uptime on DPS.